Second, you have two fathers, right?
Okay.
One of them, he has a PhD. He plays by every single rule society handed him, works incredibly hard at a steady job. But the crazy part is, he is just constantly drowning in debt.
Yeah, that's a pretty common story,
It
unfortunately.
is. And then you have the other father. This guy didn't even finish middle school. I mean, he dropped out in the 8th grade, has absolutely zero academic pedigree.
Right.
But he's practically buying up the state of Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like, he's well on his way to becoming one of the wealthiest men on the islands. So what does the middle school dropout know about money that the doctor doesn't?
Well, that is the ultimate contradiction we're looking at today. It really challenges the whole, the standard social contract we're all handed.
Yeah, that idea that if you just follow the rules.
Exactly. Get the good grades and the financial rewards will just automatically be waiting for you at the finish line.
Right.
But when you look at the reality of wealth building, that traditional formula often falls completely flat.
It really does. So for you listening, today we're doing a deep dive into the foundational philosophy of building wealth, pulling from Robert Kiyosaki's legendary framework. And let's unpack this opening scenario. Because if education doesn't automatically equal wealth, what does? Like, what is the actual variable here?
The defining difference, honestly, isn't their formal education at all. It's their fundamental relationship with time, money, and most importantly, fear.
Oh, fear. That's a big one.
It's massive. To understand how the 8th grade dad thrived while the PhD struggled, we have to look at how they approached their daily waking hours.
Right.
And the primary divergence is basically this. The poor and middle class work for money, but the rich make money work for them.
Okay, let's ground that in a practical example for everyone. See, we have two guys, John and Ben.
Sure.
And they both have the exact same starting salary and the same 24 hours in a day. Now, John's strategy is to trade his time for a paycheck. He works his 8 hours, he gets paid, he goes home.
The standard routine.
Exactly. But he's frustrated because no matter how many hours he works, life just keeps getting more expensive.
Right. Inflation, bills, it all adds up.
Yeah. Ben, on the other hand, makes the same salary, but he treats his time completely differently. He refuses to just trade his finite time for a finite paycheck.
He's playing a different game.
He really is. He spends his off hours like hunting for assets to add to his collection.
Right. It's a complete shift in the rules of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, John gets his money by directly liquidating his time.
Right.
When he stops working, the money stops flowing. It's that simple.
Yeah, the tap just shuts off.
Exactly. But Ben, he is building a system where his money is generated by the assets he owns, completely independent of how he spends his Tuesday afternoon.
Wait, doesn't fear of poverty drive people to work hard 8 hours a day? Isn't that a good thing? I mean, society praises the person grinding away at a tough job to put food on the table, right?
Well,
I'm afraid of not making rent. That fear gets me out of bed and into the office.
what's fascinating here is that Kiyosaki points out this exact dynamic. Yes, it does get you out of bed, but it also creates a massive psychological trap
Oh, really? How so?
because people's lives are fundamentally controlled by two emotions, fear and greed, or, desire.
Ah, okay.
The fear of not having money dictates your actions initially, so you grind for that paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
But then the second emotion kicks in.
The greed part.
Right. You get paid, and desire takes over.
Yeah.
You want to buy things to feel better or to signal status or just to relieve the stress of that daily grind you just went through.
So you spend it all, and immediately that fear of being broke just returns, sending you right back to work on Monday morning.
Exactly.
It's like an endless loop, a hamster wheel.
Precisely. And uncontrolled, these two emotions shut down the logical wealth-building part of your brain entirely.
Yeah,
Stop thinking, and you start simply reacting.
Oh,
You tell yourself you aren't interested in money, yet you spend the vast majority of your waking hours working a job, just utterly consumed by the pursuit of it.
that is so true.
And life ends up just pushing you around. The text frames it like this. Every time life pushes you, it's actually life saying, wake up. There's a lesson here.
I love that. Think about your own paycheck last Friday, When that money hit your bank account, what was your immediate reaction? Did you think about buying something that would generate more money? Or did you go shopping for a lifestyle upgrade?
Most people go for the upgrade.
They do, because if acquiring assets is the only way to escape that fear-desire loop, we need to get radically clear on what an actual asset is. And frankly, society fundamentally misunderstands this.
Oh, it's a massive blind spot. And it really comes down to financial literacy. The golden rule of wealth isn't about how much money you make.
It's not.
No, It is entirely about how much money you keep.
Yeah.
And to keep it, you have to understand the literal cash flow direction of the things you buy.
The material breaks it down to a brilliantly simple definition, actually. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's it.
It's that simple, yeah.
So basically, an asset is like a golden goose that feeds you, and a liability is a pet tiger that eats all your food. But people keep buying tigers thinking they're geese.
That is the absolute perfect way to look at it. But let's dig into why that happens. Like, why do smart, highly educated people buy liabilities disguised as assets?
Yeah, why do they?
It's the illusion of wealth. Take a large primary residence, for example.
Oh boy, here we go.
Society constantly tells you your house is your biggest asset, right?
Right, the American dream.
But if you look at the actual cash flow, it requires continuous maintenance, property taxes, a heavy mortgage, insurance.
So much insurance.
It is actively draining your bank account every single month. It is, by definition, taking money out of your pocket.
So the middle class stays stuck because they acquire these liabilities, the bigger house, the brand new car, the expensive gadgets, and they falsely label them as assets on their personal balance sheet. They think, oh, look at my net worth. But they are actually bleeding cash. I mean, give a financially illiterate person $1 million and they won't buy a flock of geese. They'll just buy a zoo full of tigers.
Which is exactly why the book says intelligence solves problems and produces money. But money without intelligence is money soon gone.
Yeah, just vanishes.
The lack of financial knowledge is the absolute #1 reason why the rich get richer and the poor middle class just get squeezed.
Yeah.
The wealthy are rigorously focused on that cash flow direction.
Okay, so if we know the escape hatch is to collect cash flowing assets, things like real estate that pays rent or dividend stocks or a business that runs without you, how do we systematically build and protect them?
You need a system.
Right, because you don't just stumble into a portfolio of assets. You need a specific toolkit.
You do. You have to cultivate what the source calls your financial IQ.
Okay.
See, most people focus all their energy on their income statement, their salary from their job.
Ah,
But the wealthy focus their energy on their asset column.
makes sense.
And building that asset column requires a deep understanding of 4 specific pillars of financial intelligence.
Let's break those down because the synergy here is where the real magic happens, I think.
Absolutely.
Pillar 1 is accounting. Now, this isn't just about doing your taxes in April. It's about true financial literacy. You have to be able to read the numbers to understand the story of a business or an investment, right?
Right. You have to know what the numbers are telling you. Pillar 2 is investing, which the text describes as the actual science of your money making more money.
Got it.
Then you have pillar 3, understanding markets. And this is really the science of supply and demand.
So knowing what people want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can have the best accounting and investing strategy in the world, but if you don't understand what people actually want and what the market dictates, you won't make a dime.
Yeah, nobody's buying it.
Right. And finally, pillar 4 is the law. This is understanding tax advantages and legal structures to actually keep the money you've made.
The law is a huge one, specifically the power of corporations. And I want to be clear, this isn't just a business move to make more money. It's a defensive strategy.
It really is.
I look at a corporation like a watertight bulkhead on a ship, you know?
Yeah.
If one compartment floods, say a business venture fails, or you face a crazy lawsuit, the whole ship, meaning your personal finances, it doesn't sink.
That's a highly accurate way to view it. Corporations are described in the material as one of the biggest legal tax loopholes and really the most guarded secrets of the wealthy.
Wow.
The middle class often plays the game of life completely exposed. But a corporation acts as a shield. And it radically changes the order of operations for how you spend money.
Right, because as an employee, you earn money, you get taxed heavily on that money, and then you try to live on whatever is left over.
Yeah, paying everyone else first.
But a corporation, it earns money, spends everything it possibly can as a pre-tax business expense, and is only taxed on whatever is left over. It is a totally different rule book.
It's the synergy of all 4 of these pillars: accounting, investing, markets, and the law that creates true financial intelligence. When you understand how they interact, you don't just earn money.
What do?
You invent it. The text explicitly states that the rich invent money using their minds.
Okay, but this brings up a piece of advice from the material that really threw me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it argues that you should Work to learn, not work for money, and that you need to know a little bit about a lot of subjects to build this financial IQ.
Right, that's the J.O.B trap, just over broke.
Exactly. But if I'm working to learn, shouldn't I become a deep specialist in one thing? I mean, say I'm a software engineer or a neurosurgeon. Shouldn't I focus all my energy on becoming the absolute best, most highly paid specialist in my specific field?
Well, that is exactly what the PhD father did. He specialized.
Right.
But the problem with deep specialization is that your perspective becomes incredibly narrow. You might become the best at your specific job, but your financial IQ remains stunted because great financial opportunities are not seen with your eyes.
Oh.
They're seen with a trained mind.
So a broad understanding allows you to connect the dots. Like you can see how a shift in the market connects to a tax loophole, which then connects to an investment vehicle.
Precisely.
A pure specialist would completely miss that intersection because their head is just permanently down in their specific lane.
Exactly. The single most powerful asset you have is your mind. And the material makes a pretty bold claim about the real world here.
What's that?
It says, it is not necessarily the smart who get ahead, but the bold, the risk takers.
The people who actually take action on the opportunities their minds uncover.
Yes.
But okay, that raises a massive question. If the blueprint is this clear, like, if the math of buying assets using corporate structures and training your financial IQ is so straightforward, why do so many people still fail? We're back to psychology, right?
We are.
It's not the math holding people back, it's their own mindset.
The math is honestly the easy part. Overcoming the mental obstacles is the true barrier to entry. You can have a brilliant financial IQ, but if you don't know how to manage that psychological friction, you will sabotage yourself.
Every time.
The material identifies 5 specific hurdles that destroy wealth-building potential.
Let's hit those. The first one is fear. And it's not just a general anxiety, right? It's that people are so utterly terrified of losing money that they ensure they never make any.
Right, playing it completely safe.
They keep everything in a low-yield savings account.
Yeah.
And inflation just slowly bleeds them dry. They miss the game entirely because they won't step on the field.
And then there is cynicism. This is that internal voice of self-doubt, or sometimes it's the external noise from friends and family.
Oh, the naysayers.
Exactly. It's a voice that says, well, if this is such a good real estate deal, why hasn't someone else bought it already? Or the
Yeah.
market is going to crash. It's just too risky. Cynicism constantly focuses on the worst-case scenario, and it paralyzes action. So while the cynic is busy overanalyzing why something won't work, the bold investor has already taken the calculated risk and collected the reward.
That is so true. The third hurdle is laziness. And this isn't just about sleeping in until noon.
No, not at all.
The most common form of laziness is actually staying busy.
Yes.
You stay incredibly busy at your demanding job so you don't have to face the hard work of taking control of your finances. It reminds me of people at the gym, actually.
How so?
Well, you put in the work, you see some muscle definition, you feel this great sense of accomplishment, and then what happens?
You stop going.
Exactly. You get comfortable, you get lazy, you skip a few days, and before you know it, you've lost all your progress. The exact same comfort that destroys physical health will hold you back from financial independence. It's the profound danger of getting comfortable with just okay.
Comfort is absolutely the enemy of growth. And that ties right into the fourth obstacle, which is bad habits.
Oh.
The source is very direct about this. If your daily habits consist of coming home, immediately turning on the television, and going out drinking every single weekend, you are draining the 2 resources you need to build wealth.
Which are?
Your time and your mental energy.
It's John trading his life away instead of Ben building assets from our earlier example.
Exactly. And the final obstacle is arrogance.
Arrogance, that's an interesting one to include.
It is, but arrogance is a huge wealth destroyer because it blinds you to your own ignorance.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki points out that every time he has been arrogant, he has actually lost money.
Really?
Yes, because arrogance tricks you into believing that what you don't know isn't important.
Oh, wow.
The moment you think you have nothing left to learn about money, the market will humble you very quickly.
Don't let arrogance steal your money, folks. So if we can recognize those mental traps, fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance, how do we actually execute?
That's the key.
Because knowing the pitfalls is only half the battle. We need actionable steps to, awaken this financial genius.
Right. The material lays out a very practical methodology for execution.
Mm.
It really falls into 3 distinct phases: building the mindset, executing the strategy, and maintaining the discipline.
Let's look at that first phase, the mindset. It starts with finding a reason greater than reality.
The why.
Yes. If your only goal is, I want to be rich, that's usually not enough emotional fuel to push you through the setbacks. You
Yeah.
need a deep, visceral why. Maybe it's the freedom to never answer to a boss again, or the ability to secure your family's future across generations.
And that deep why fuels your daily choices, which is the second step.
Okay.
Wealth isn't an accident. It is the compound interest of choosing every single day to invest in your mind. This also means choosing your friends carefully.
Step 3.
Yes. If you're surrounding yourself with cynics and people who are terrified of risk, their mindset will absolutely drag you down. You also need to choose heroes.
Heroes, like mentors.
Exactly. People whose financial moves you can study and emulate to tap into your own raw potential.
Okay, so then we move to the execution phase. And the absolute cornerstone here is immense self-discipline, specifically paying yourself first.
That is so hard for people.
Incredibly difficult. The standard routine is to pay all your bills, pay the government, and then try to invest whatever pennies are left. But paying yourself first means allocating money to your asset column before you pay your bills.
Which sounds crazy to most people.
It does. But it creates a healthy pressure. It forces you to figure out how to generate more income to cover those liabilities.
Right, it forces financial innovation.
Sure.
Another key part of execution is the velocity of money.
Mastering the formula quickly.
Yes, the material emphasizes looking for deals where you get your original principal back as quickly as possible. Being an Indian giver, as the text calls it, you want to extract your initial investment so you can deploy it elsewhere while still keeping control of the asset that's cash flowing.
You're essentially creating wealth out of thin air at that point.
You really are.
And part of executing well is paying your brokers well. People always try to cheap out on professional advice. They want the discount accountant or the cheapest attorney.
Huge mistake.
Right, because a highly paid professional who actually understands the 4 pillars of financial IQ will make you exponentially more money than they cost.
Exactly. Which brings us to the final phase. Maintenance and reward. Like, what is the ultimate point of building this massive asset column in the first place?
So what does this all mean? The point is step 8 from the material, using your assets to buy your luxuries.
Yes.
This is where the entire system proves its worth. If you want a luxury car, you don't drain your savings or take out a massive loan to buy it. You don't buy a Tiger with your own cash.
Never.
Instead, you focus your energy on acquiring a new asset, a golden goose, and you use the monthly cash flow from that new asset to cover the car payment. The luxury becomes the physical reward for mastering the system.
It completely reframes the concept of a luxury. It's no longer a chain around your neck.
Yep.
It's a monument to your financial intelligence.
That's a great way to put it.
And the final piece of the puzzle is reciprocity. Step 10. Building wealth isn't just about hoarding. If you want money, if you want opportunities, you have to circulate value first. Teach, share knowledge, and provide value to the market, and the market will return it to you in multiples.
This has been a massive paradigm shift. We started by looking at why working harder for a paycheck is often an emotional trap driven by fear and desire.
Right.
We redefined financial literacy not by what you earn, but by the cash flow direction of what you buy, acquiring geese instead of tigers.
And we examine how building a broad financial IQ across accounting, investing, markets, and the law allows you to spot intersections of opportunity.
And utilizing corporate structures to act as a defensive shield against taxes and liabilities.
Exactly.
And we confronted the hard truth that even the best strategy will fail if you let the internal barriers of fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance control your daily choices. You have to overcome yourself before you can overcome the market.
The book reminds us that the greatest opportunities are invisible to the average person. They are only seen with a trained mind.
Yep.
So as you go about your day today, look around your neighborhood. Look at the businesses, the real estate, the services you use, and ask yourself, are you currently seeing the world through the eyes of a consumer who is just trying to buy the next liability? Or are you looking through the mind of an investor spotting the hidden assets?
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the traditional formulas, keep investing in your mind, and above all, keep your curiosity alive. We will see you next time.